Miles. Screen, this week's topic is create once, publish 5 times. So if you are always moaning about having to create content and struggling to stay on top of things, then this is definitely the webinar for you to listen to. Just remember that every single Tuesday I go live at 12:30, where I try and share some marketing knowledge to hopefully help you and your business thrive in this hard marketplace. So with no further ado, let's dive into this. I've been trying to keep these sessions a little bit shorter and a little bit punchier so that you can consume them in all in good time. I'm just going to check the internet just to make sure that we are indeed live, because you'd be surprised how many times I've done this and been talking to myself. It also allows me to keep track on any questions that you may have. So please feel free, if you struggle with creating content, to pop your questions in the chat and I will do my very best to answer them. I always get this wrong because it's the other way around, but you can see my number here. If you do have a specific question that you don't want to make public, then please just send me a WhatsApp. Right, here we go. Now, the number one thing that I hear from my customers is this: Miles, I do not have time to create all of the content that I need to. And it's a real sort of issue for small business owners because, yes, creating content does take time. And with the best will in the world, the thing that I hear repeated a lot, it's the old, oh, I'm going to start this on Monday and I'm going to post every day, and come Thursday, they've lost the will to live because, well, A, they perhaps haven't planned hard enough, but creating good, engaging content is a difficult thing to do. So what I'd like to try and do today is to make these things simple and, like all of my webinars, try and give you some hints and tips as to how to produce one piece of like origin content and then repurpose it. But I've got a few little things that I'd like to bring to your attention before I do this. So we're going to get into the sort of how to publish it 5 times. But first, you need to think about the original content that you create. And let me be clear, it's never good just to clone or copy content that you make verbatim, right? So having original content is very important. So your subject matter may be the same. However, the way in which you present this does need to change ever so slightly. So even if you create one piece of written content, just make sure that when you regurgitate it, if you like, on a different platform, that you reformat it, reword it. Just make sure that it is an original piece. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Mostly because your audience across your different channels sometimes are the same, right? A lot of people that might be connected to you on LinkedIn may also follow you on Instagram or be a part of your email marketing list or look at your website. So you don't want them to sort of just be seeing exactly the same content. The same messaging is fine, but making sure that you reword it or present it in a different way is really important for that. And the second thing that's important is original content is becoming even more important now for search engine optimization. So, when you're publishing things to your website, you don't want it to be an exact carbon copy of something else that also exists on the web, as an example, because that you're going to get marked down on that. So think about that. Think about, not only when you reproduce things, making sure that the content is original, but make sure that you use different images and different alt tags to support your content also. So what kind of content is there? Now, in general terms, there's long form content, which would be things like articles, blogs, things that are long in length, as it were, like the clues in the title. And then there's short form content. There's things that is easily digestible, I suppose, a nice punchy email or a piece of social content. But where do you start? I hear you cry. I hear you cry, Mr. Moy. I hear you cry. Let me just give you some examples of the written word, video and audio. So in terms of the written word, we're thinking about articles. We're thinking about blogs, social posts, ebooks, newsletters, emails, right? This is not an exhaustive list, but that's a nice expansive list for you to think about in terms of your armory of content that you can create. In terms of video, where do you see that sitting? Well, linked into your website or on your social posts, you know, your YouTube channel or your LinkedIn channel, or embedded within your blogs. And then you've got audio, you know, that can be via a podcast, or that podcast, if you like, can be linked into your website, or you can make reference to it within your emails and so on and so forth, right? So there's, in essence, 3 big buckets that you need to think about: the written word, video production, and audio production. But think about what's easiest, because a lot of people get a little bit stuck at where to start with the content creation. Do they start with a long form piece, or do they start with a short form piece? Do they start with video? Do they start with the written word? And look, there is no hard and fast rule. It's whatever feels more comfortable for you, I would say, to get started. So, you know, pick your topic, and let's take this, what I'm doing now, right, as an example. So I'm producing long form content in the form of this video. Then I can strip the audio out of this video and produce a podcast. I can then take the narrative that I've spoken about here, and I can convert that into text to create a blog. And then I can take the blog and take a snippet from that and produce an email around the subject of create once, publish 5 times. And then I could take a snippet of this video, a soundbite, and I could publish it on a social platform. So from this one piece of content, this video that's going live on my LinkedIn platform, I can produce a podcast. In terms of the audio, I can produce a blog, I can produce an email, and I can produce social. So that's taking the long part of it and running it down that way. But it also works back up the other way. So I could create a short social post. I could then expand that social post into an email. I could then expand it again into a blog. I could then do a video about it, and then I could strip the audio from the video to produce a podcast. Just a little bit of a different way around there. I couldn't do the audio. Well, I suppose I could do the audio first and then do the video, but that would be duplication. I may as well just do the video and then strip the audio. Does that make sense? So you can produce it either long form to short form or short form to long form. So think smart when it comes to the creation or the recreation and repurposing of your original source content. Because like I said, you don't want to just regurgitate it verbatim. So perhaps take that transcript of your video and maybe ask AI to rewrite that in the form of an article or a blog. And then you can ask AI to rewrite it in the form of an email. So, you know, there is, and actually just today I made a comment on Damien Horner's post where he had created an AI video using an avatar of himself. And quite frankly, it looked like Damien. It sounded like Damien. It didn't quite have Damien's va-va-voom, right? But this is where AI is going, right? So for those that don't like being in front of the camera, there are now some really clever bits of software out there which will allow you to produce video content without you even producing it. I know, crazy stuff, eh? But look, let me get back to the case in point. So think about being a bit clever, producing your content, and then doing things like using AI to repurpose it. Just looking at Justin's comment then, he said he's always crying. Yeah, always. So think about this. So let's think about this video again, right? And think about how I can sort of make it work for me 5 times, right? So how do I go about creating this? Because a lot of you sort of think, oh, how am I going to do this? Well, the first thing I do is I've created the title. I do that in advance, create once, publish 5 times. That was created a couple of months ago. This morning, I sat down and I wrote my rough script. I do have underneath here, that's where I do look down, I do have some rough notes to make sure that I keep myself on track. So I write myself a rough script. Then I go live, right? And for me, this is one of the really good things. And in terms of I haven't got enough time, we've been going for 11 minutes so far, and I'm probably going to run out to about 15, no more than 20 minutes today. So in total, writing it, maybe 15, 20 minutes, recording this today, 20 minutes. So in just 40 minutes, I've created a long form piece of content, right? Which I am live, and it's currently live on my LinkedIn. It's also being pumped out live on my YouTube channel. Go across and give it a follow if you so fancy. But that's the first bit produced. That's the sort of the master piece of content produced all within like 40 minutes of my time today, right? So that's a really good way, a really good use of my time. Once this is over, I can download the recording. It's being recorded on this software automatically. And then I can put this video into a piece of software and I can actually strip out the audio. I can then upload the audio to a platform. I use Buzzsprout, and that will then push that piece of audio out to all of the major podcast platforms to my podcast show. All right, so there's the second piece of content created. The third piece is that I can take a transcript of this create once, publish 5 times video, and I can create a blog for my website. Now, there's the third piece of content. I can then take some key messages around this create once, publish 5 times. And don't forget, I've made my notes so I can use those as headlines. And then perhaps I can use an AI tool to generate me the framework for an email. And I could email my database all around this one piece of content that I've created within the 13 minutes that we've been live on air. And so that's the fourth part. And then the fifth part is that I could take a sound bite of this particular video, something to hook people in, and I could make reference to my blog or reference to my website or reference to my social to try and get more traction on those platforms. So, going live on LinkedIn is definitely not for everybody, right? But for me, I'm quite comfortable doing it, and it's a really good use of my time. So, within 14 minutes today, I've produced not only one piece of live content, which is going out on a couple of different platforms, to be fair, but I'm able to repurpose it at least 5 times to get the most out of it. So it really is a very good use of my time. And that's it. I mean, I said I was going to try and keep it nice and tight for you. So, just to sort of give a little bit of a recap, think about long form or short form content. You can start with either one, and you either build it up and expand it, or you take it down and condense it. But all along, you're working along the same type of title, and everything points to the same type of thing. I'd also say to you, think about these things when you are creating a good SEO platform for your website, because interlinking these bits, making you an authority in your area, is really quite important these days. So tying and interlinking these things within your website with internal links is very important. So as an example, on my website, I have these videos that I create. They get populated onto my website. But when I create a blog to support this, I can actually link in the video that is already on my site for those that want to, do some extra consumption of this particular subject. Yeah. And as we know, dwell time is another important thing. We all want people to dwell on our sites for longer, and video is a great way to hold people on your site. So there we go. Create something once, either in a short form and then expand it to long form, or in my case, what I enjoy doing is creating the longer form piece, and then it's nice and easy to chunk down and repurpose. So I hope you found that interesting. I'm just having a look at the yeah, he's always crying with laughter. You can always trust your friends, can't you, to to be there for you. So there we go. I'm going to urge you now today to get out there, create a piece of long form content, and if you can't reuse it 5 times, reuse it once, reuse it twice, right? Just get the most out of the precious time that you have and creating some meaningful content. So there we go, all over in 17 minutes. If you've enjoyed today, then please give it a like, give us a comment, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 12:30, where we'll be discussing another little piece of bite-sized marketing. We've got a couple of last-minute comments that have just come in. Great tips there from Karen. Plan to reuse it from the beginning. Absolutely, 100%. And here we go. So Karen, she's got a video production company. And one of the things I would say that's really important when you're creating video is to think about pausing nicely between each of the sort of subject matters that perhaps you're talking about, because that gives you the ability to be able to edit things nice and crisply. So it's a little bit harder, I think, when you've got video and obviously when you're moving around, but certainly with your audio, think about taking a pause between the main subjects, because that allows you to sort of do a nice crisp cut, and that you're not sort of cutting off the audio because you've been talking too quickly. There we go. Another last minute little tip for you there. Thank you so much indeed, Karen. And Liam, thank you. Good to see you on there. Here we go. Right. So do you use a specific planner to help with your plans when you're doing, I've got to expand this, when you're doing what content you're doing? Look, I'm going to say to you, yes, of course, planning. Some of us are better at planning than others, but if you're new to creating content for your business, please start off lightly. All right. If you've never created content before, start off with your planner being right 1 day a week. All right. And there are better days than others to post, for sure. On professional networks, the weekdays are better than the weekends, but pick a day. All right. Maybe a lot of people are busy on Monday, so that's why I've gone for Tuesday, but it's completely up to you. I've picked lunchtime because I think people perhaps have got time to watch this type of stuff. But pick a day, get your content down, and put everything you've got into creating that one bit of content for that week. And then for the next week, just do, again, one piece of content. You can repurpose it if you like, all right, across the week, but don't give yourself too much to do, Liam, in the first instance. And I'm getting into a little bit of the minutiae here, but make sure that you're pushing the main message that you've got. Like, pick your main message and keep driving it home. I do bite-sized marketing, and every week I show up and I talk about bite-sized marketing, right? So whatever it is that is your USP, make sure that you constantly be talking about this, because we've all got such a small bandwidth these days, right? We're bombarded, especially across social media, with so many sort of sales messages that a lot of the time we don't take it in. So it's really important to get repetition in there and cut through, so that people remember you for what it is that you offer, or what it is that you want them to remember that you offer. So in terms of, do I use a specific one? You don't need a specific tool. You can just create yourself a nice little spreadsheet. The important thing here is set yourself a reminder in your phone that each week it's time to create the content, right? Or if you want to be really organized with it, why don't you set yourself a task of creating 4 bits of content? That's 1 bit of content for each week for the month, on the same kind of theme, but maybe with a little bit of a twist, and sit down and create it all in one go, and then set it all up. You can set it up to be automized in terms of launching it on your platforms. So yeah, I probably waffled on a little bit there, Liam. If you've got a specific question around it, then I can perhaps take that offline. But there are loads of free content creation planners out there. It's just a question of picking one. So there we go. Even extra questions answered, and all done in 21 minutes and 49 seconds. I hope you've all enjoyed that, and I will see you next Tuesday. But for me, ta-ta for now.